I was fuming when I dialed the hotel where my wife, Abigail, was holed up with her affair partner. The words burned in my throat, sharp and sour, like saying them out loud would make this nightmare real. When the receptionist patched me through to their room, I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles ached, turning pale from the pressure. A raw, primal anger surged inside me, drowning out everything else. "Wesley," I growled, my voice low and dangerous, "you listen good. If my boy doesn't pull through before I speak to her, I'll hunt you down and end you myself." There was a heavy silence on the line, broken only by the faint sound of sheets shifting. Then I heard him mutter something garbled before passing the phone to her. Abigail's voice, so familiar yet laced with a cold, mocking edge I hadn't heard in ages, came through. "Yes," she said, like I was some annoying salesman. "When you're done messing around with your buddy, get to the hospital emergency room," I snapped. Her silence lingered a beat too long. I slammed the phone down, my hand trembling. The hospital's harsh fluorescent lights hummed overhead, matching the chaos in my head. My son, Jasper, was clinging to life after a wreck, and that seemed to mean less to Abigail than her side fling. In that moment, rage, shock, and heartbreak collided inside me. It wasn't just her betrayal, it was the timing, the nerve, the utter callousness. How had I missed this? I paced the sterile waiting room of St. Joseph's Hospital in Albuquerque, my thoughts spiraling. I replayed the past 6 months, Abigail's sudden business trips, her vague responses, the way she'd started dodging me, not with anger, but with this detached apathy, like she'd already walked out on our marriage. Has it all been a sham? The years, the vows, the moments we laughed together? I stared at the heavy doors to the ICU where Jasper lay, hooked up to machines, fighting to stay alive. My gut twisted. He was just a kid, and he needed his mom. But instead of being here, she was tangled up with some guy in a hotel bed. The thought made my skin crawl. A nurse called my name, pulling me out of my haze. "He's holding steady for now," she said softly, like she was trying to soften the blow of what might still happen. "Thanks," I mumbled, my voice empty. I stepped into Jasper's room, where the steady beep of monitors filled the silence. His pale face looked so small, nothing like the energetic kid I knew. I sat beside him, taking his little hand in mine, promising I'd keep him safe, no matter what. That meant facing Abigail, not just as her husband, but as Jasper's dad. Sitting there, I couldn't stop staring at Jasper's face. His chest moved faintly with each shallow breath, a reminder of how close I'd come to losing him. My grip on his hand tightened as the anger inside me smoldered. How could Abigail not be here? This was her son, our son. What kind of person puts their own thrills above their kid's life? My phone buzzed on the chair, snapping me out of it. It was Abigail. "Yeah?" I answered, my tone icy. "Henry," she said, her voice eerily calm, "I'm heading to the hospital. I'll be there soon." "Save it, Abby." "I know where you were," I shot back. Her silence screamed louder than any excuse. "Look, we'll talk when I get there," she finally said, her voice sharpening, like I was the one out of line. "Oh, we'll talk," I said, hanging up, my hand shaking. For years, I'd made excuses for Abigail, ignored the warning signs, the little things that didn't add up. But that hotel call tore the veil off, showing me a side of her I'd refused to see. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up, worrying about her late meetings or her distant attitude. I'd blamed it on work stress, exhaustion, anything but the truth. Deep down, I knew I'd just been dodging it. Abigail showed up about half an hour later, strolling into the hospital room like she was walking into a coffee shop, not a place where her son was fighting to survive. She looked perfect, as always, hair neat, makeup pristine, still wearing the same blue dress she'd left the house in that morning. She barely glanced at Jasper, her face blank, before turning to me. "What's going on?" she asked, like our son's accident was just a minor hassle. My blood boiled. I stood, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't disturb Jasper. "What's going on?" "You want to know what's going on? While you were off with your boyfriend, our son got hit by a truck." Her expression flickered for a second, but she quickly hid it behind a neutral mask. "I wasn't with anyone." "You're overreacting," she said. "Overreacting?" I hissed, stepping closer. "I called your room, Abigail. I talked to him. Don't treat me like an idiot." For a split second, I thought I saw a flash of shame in her eyes, but it vanished fast. Instead, she rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. "Fine," she said, her tone dripping with contempt. "Yes, I was with Wesley, But don't act like you're perfect, Henry. This marriage has been over for years. I'm not the only one at fault. Her words hit me like a punch. Not the only one at fault? I repeated, stunned. Are you really standing here, in front of our son, defending your affair? Abigail scoffed, looking away. I don't owe you anything. You're not perfect either, Henry. Always working, always too tired to even see me. Wesley makes me feel something, you haven't done that in years. The nerve of Abigail's words hit me like a freight train, leaving me stunned. For years, I'd worked grueling hours to keep our family afloat, sacrificing sleep, hobbies, everything to make sure she and Jasper had what they needed. And now she was twisting my efforts into an excuse for her betrayal? You're unreal, I said, my voice quivering with fury. I've been busting my tail for this family, and you've got the gall to play the victim? Abigail just shrugged, her indifference like a match to gasoline. Think what you want, Henry, she said coolly, but if you'd noticed me once in a while, maybe I wouldn't have looked elsewhere. It took every bit of restraint not to lose it right there. This ain't about me, I said, jaw clenched. You made a choice, Abigail, and you're gonna have to deal with the fallout. Her face tightened, and she leaned forward, her voice sharp. Oh yeah? And what's your big plan, huh? She taunted, like she was daring me to make a move. For a second, my mind raced with dark thoughts, confrontations, arguments, worse. But then I glanced at Jasper, lying so fragile in that hospital bed in Albuquerque's St. Joseph's. This wasn't about me or Abigail anymore. It was about him. I'm gonna make sure Jasper's okay, I said, my voice steady now. After that, we'll figure out where we stand. But don't think for a minute I'm letting this slide. Abigail smirked, like she'd won some twisted game. Do what you gotta do, Henry. Just don't act like you're some perfect catch. With that, she turned to her phone, scrolling like nothing in the world mattered. I sank back into the chair by Jasper's bed, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and grief. The woman I'd married, the one I'd loved more than anything, was gone. In her place was this cold, selfish stranger who cared more about her own wants than the family we'd built. Holding Jasper's hand, I made a quiet promise, I'd shield him from her, from this toxic mess she'd created, no matter what it cost me. Time dragged on as I sat by Jasper's side. Abigail had slipped out to the waiting room, muttering about needing some air. Fine by me, let her go. I needed her out of my sight before I said something I couldn't take back. Then Jasper stirred, his eyelids flickering, and my heart jumped. I leaned in, gently squeezing his hand. Jasper, buddy, it's me, I whispered. His eyes cracked open, hazy with confusion and exhaustion. Dad, he rasped. Right here, kid, I said, brushing his hair back. You're safe. Just rest, all right? You're gonna be fine. He gave a weak nod before drifting off again. Relief hit me hard, but it didn't last. Jasper's recovery was just the start, I still had to face Abigail and the ruins of our marriage. I stepped into the hallway of the hospital to clear my head. The place was dead quiet, just the faint hum of machines in the background. My phone buzzed in my pocket, startling me. I figured it was Abigail with some snarky text, but it was my brother, Quentin. Hey, I said, keeping my voice low. Henry, what's going on? Quentin's voice was sharp, worried. I got your text about Jasper. Is he all right? He's stable, I said, rubbing my neck. But it's been rough. You need me to drive up? For a moment, I thought about it. Quentin's always been my anchor, the guy I could lean on no matter what. But this wasn't just about Jasper's accident, it was about Abigail, and I wasn't ready to spill that yet. Nah, I said finally. We're handling it. I'll keep you posted. All right, Quentin said, though I could tell he wasn't convinced. Call me if you need me, man. Anytime. Thanks, Q, I said, hanging up and leaning against the wall, my mind spinning. I'd always thought of myself as the guy who could handle anything, who could keep his family together through any storm. But now? I was losing my grip. Abigail's betrayal cut deep, and it wasn't just emotional, it was personal, like a betrayal of everything I'd worked for. I thought back to the early days of our marriage in Tulsa, the late-night talks, the dreams we shared. How did we end up here? The sound of heels clicking on the tile snapped me out of it. Abigail appeared at the end of the hallway, phone in hand, her face as icy as ever. Henry, she said, her voice clipped. We gotta talk. I crossed my arms, keeping my expression blank. Then talk. She glanced around, clearly annoyed by the setting. Not here. Outside. Grudgingly, I followed her to the hospital courtyard. The cool night air in Albuquerque hit me, a sharp contrast to the heat between us. Abigail pulled out a vape, something I hadn't seen her use in years, and took a long pull, exhaling a cloud before speaking. Look, she said, her tone flat, I'm not gonna say sorry for what happened. Of course you're not, I shot back, my voice bitter. Her eyes narrowed. Don't cut me off. You think you're some saint, but you're not. I've been miserable in this marriage for years, Henry. Years. And if I find someone who makes me feel something again, that's not all on me. I stared at her, my shock turning to a slow-burning rage. Are you really standing here, trying to defend cheating on me, on our family, while your son's fighting for his life in there? Abigail let out a sigh, acting like I was the one out of line. You just don't get it, Henry. Wesley actually listens to me, cares about what I'm feeling. You've been so caught up in your job, your own little world, you didn't even notice how miserable I've been. I could barely believe my ears. You're something else, I said, my voice climbing with heat. You're pinning this on me? You made the choice to step out, Abigail, not me. She rolled her eyes, taking a slow pull from her vape. Maybe if you'd been a better husband, I wouldn't have had to find someone else. Something in me broke. You're pathetic, I said, my voice low and firm. You've torn apart everything we built, and for what? Some guy who probably only cares about the thrill of sneaking around? Abigail smirked, and the sheer nerve of it made my blood boil. Say whatever you want, Henry, but Wesley makes me happy. Can you say that about yourself? I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to let loose. You make me sick, I said finally. You don't even care what this is doing to Jasper, do you? You're too wrapped up in your little fantasy to see the wreckage you're leaving behind. Abigail shrugged, her indifference cutting deeper than any jab. Jasper, I'll be fine. Kids bounce back. Her words were the last straw. I stepped closer, my voice shaking but controlled. Let me be crystal clear. I'll do whatever it takes to keep Jasper safe from this mess. If you think I'm gonna let you drag him down with you, you're dead wrong. Abigail stared at me, her face blank for a moment. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd feel something, guilt, regret, anything. But then she flicked her vape to the ground and crushed it under her heel. Do what you gotta do, Henry, she said, her voice ice cold. I'm not begging for your forgiveness. I watched her walk off, her heels clicking on the pavement of the Albuquerque hospital courtyard, feeling a weird mix of fury and relief. She was gone for now, but this fight was far from over. Standing under the chilly night sky, I swore to myself I'd protect Jasper and make sure Abigail's choices didn't ruin the one thing that still mattered, our son. The drive home that night felt endless. I left St. Joseph's Hospital after making sure Jasper was sleeping and under watch. Abigail stayed behind, though I doubted it was out of real concern for our boy. I needed space to think, to sort out what the hell I was gonna do next. Walking into our house in Rio Rancho felt strange, the silence almost haunting. This was the home Abigail and I had built together, piece by piece, filled with memories of Jasper's birthdays, holiday dinners, and quiet Saturday mornings. Now, every corner seemed to taunt me, whispering about the lies that had been hiding in plain sight. I poured myself a glass of bourbon, the sharp sting of it grounding me. The living room lamp glowed dimly as I sank onto the couch, staring at the coffee table, my mind stuck on a loop, the hotel call, Abigail's coldness, her brazen attempt to shift the blame. Then I noticed the blinking light on the answering machine. It felt odd, who even leaves voicemails these days? Curious but wary, I hit play. The robotic voice chimed, message received today at 8:12 p.m. Then his voice came through. Hey, Abby, it's Wesley. Just checking in. I know things got wild with your kid in the hospital, but I'm here if you need me. Call me when you can, sweetheart. I froze, the bourbon glass hovering in midair. The casual tone, the sickening ease of sweetheart, it hit me like a kick to the chest. He sounded so at home, like he had every right to leave messages on the phone we shared. I slammed the glass down so hard it chipped, but I didn't care. My anger was alive now, clawing to get out. How dare he? How dare she? My phone buzzed on the table, pulling me back. It was Quentin again. This time, I picked up. Henry, he said, his voice firm. What's going on? I know you said you're handling it, but something's off. Talk to me. I took a deep breath, the words catching in my throat. Finally, I let it out. She's cheating on me, Q. The silence on his end was heavy. You sure? He asked after a beat. Dead sure, I said, my voice bitter. I caught her. She doesn't even bother denying it. She's been seeing some guy named Wesley, and get this, he left a voicemail on our home phone. Quentin let out a low whistle. Damn, man. I don't even know what to say. Are you holding up? Define holding up, I said, running a hand through my hair. Jasper's in the hospital, my marriage is a joke, and this guy thinks he can just slide into my life. Listen, Quentin said, his voice steady. You need to get a lawyer. Don't wait. Protect yourself and Jasper. If she's this reckless, she could screw you over money, emotions, you name it. He was right, like always, but hearing it made the whole thing feel too real. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was the end of everything I thought I knew. I'll call someone tomorrow, I said finally. Good, Quentin said. And Henry, don't let her mess with your head. She'll try to flip this, make you question yourself. Don't let her. I won't, I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet, Quentin's words weighing on me. I knew I had to act, but part of me felt stuck, like moving forward would make this nightmare even more real. Then, right on cue, the front door creaked open. Abigail walked in, her heels clicking on the hardwood. She looked startled to see me. Didn't think you'd still be awake, she said, tossing her purse on the counter like nothing was wrong. Didn't think you'd still be acting like this marriage isn't over, I shot back. She paused, her cool mask slipping just enough to show a flash of irritation. What's that supposed to mean? It means I heard your boyfriend's voicemail, I said, my voice like ice. On our machine. Abigail's eyes narrowed. You're snooping through my messages now? I let out a harsh laugh, no humor in it. Don't even try that, Abigail. He called our house, on our phone. Don't act like I'm the one out of line. She crossed her arms, her face hardening. You're blowing this out of proportion. Wesley was just checking in. It's not a crime. Checking in? I repeated, stunned. While your son's lying in a hospital bed? Do you even hear yourself? Her jaw clenched, but she stayed silent. You've done some low things, Abigail, I went on, my voice shaking with anger. But this? This is a new bottom. Do you even care about Jasper, or am I the only one in this house who gives a damn? Don't you dare question how much I love my son, she snapped, her voice sharp. Abigail's voice cut through the air, sharp as a blade. Then start acting like his mother. I roared, my words bouncing off the walls of our Rio Rancho living room. She stared at me, her eyes cold and calculating. You're always so high and mighty, Henry, acting like the wronged hero. Maybe if you'd been half the husband I needed, none of this would have happened. I shook my head, disbelief flooding me. You hear yourself, Abigail? Keep spinning that story, keep pointing the finger at me. But the truth is, you're just selfish. Careful, she snapped, her tone like ice. I stepped closer, refusing to back down. No, you don't get to shut me up anymore. This is on you, every bit of it. She held my gaze for a long moment, then grabbed her purse. I'm not doing this right now, she said, brushing past me. Of course you're not, I muttered as she stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The house went quiet, but it didn't feel like home anymore, it felt like a war zone. One thing was clear, I was done letting Abigail run the show. The echo of that slammed door lingered, rattling through me like a warning of how broken things were. I stood in the middle of the living room, fists balled, fighting to keep it together. This wasn't the life I'd pictured, not the marriage I'd poured my heart into. But it was time to stop chasing her and start fighting for what mattered, Jasper and me. The next morning, I called Quentin. You were right, I said, skipping the small talk. I need a lawyer. Know anyone good? Quentin didn't miss a beat. Yeah, I got a guy. Sharp as hell. I'll text you his number. Deciding to call a lawyer felt heavier than catching Abigail's lies. Maybe it was the finality, no turning back once I made that move. This wasn't just a rough patch, it was the end. But I couldn't afford to hesitate. I dialed the number Quentin sent, and soon I was talking to a steady, no-nonsense voice. His name was Vincent Harlow, and he got straight to the point. Henry, I've handled cases like yours before, he said. We need to lock down your priorities: custody, financial security, and Jasper's well-being. You ready for this? Yeah, I said, firm. I don't have a choice. Good, Vincent replied. Let's meet tomorrow and get moving. After the call, I leaned back, a mix of relief and dread washing over me. I was finally taking charge, but the path ahead looked rough. This wasn't just about Abigail's betrayal, it was about dismantling the life we'd built. That night, Abigail stumbled in late, reeking of cheap perfume and gin. Her heels clicked unevenly as she swayed through the door, carefree as ever. Where have you been? I asked, my voice flat but sharp. She smirked, leaning against the wall to steady herself. Out with Wesley. I pressed, out where? Her smirk twisted into a scowl. None of your damn business. You're unbelievable, I said, shaking my head. You think you can just breeze in here like nothing's wrong, like you haven't wrecked this family? Abigail rolled her eyes, pushing past me. Oh, save the sermon, Henry. You're no saint. You're just pissed because you're not calling the shots anymore. That lit a fuse. I stepped in front of her, blocking her path. This about control for you? No, Abigail, this is about respect, about the vows you tossed out like garbage. She sneered, her eyes flashing. You want respect? Maybe you should have earned it. I took a deep breath, forcing calm. I'm done with this. I've already called a lawyer. You can either work with me or make this uglier. Your call. For a split second, her face faltered, the mask slipping. Then she let out a bitter laugh. A lawyer? Good luck with that. But don't think you're taking Jasper from me. Watch me, I said, my voice steady. I'll do whatever it takes to keep him safe from this chaos you've made. She didn't answer, just stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. By morning, she was gone, leaving a half-empty bottle of wine on the counter as her only trace. I didn't care where she'd gone, my focus was Jasper. Later that day, I met Vincent at his office in downtown Albuquerque. He was all business, his questions sharp but needed. You've been documenting her behavior? He asked, tapping a pen on his desk. Not yet, I admitted. Start now, he said. Texts, voicemails, anything showing neglect or recklessness. The more we've got, the stronger your case. Got it, I said, a new sense of direction kicking in. One more thing, Vincent added. Stay cool. Don't let her bait you. Any slip-up could be used against you in court. I nodded, his advice sinking in. It was smart, but it wouldn't be easy. Abigail knew how to push my buttons like nobody else. Back home, I started digging through everything, emails, phone logs, even social media. It didn't take long to find dirt, pictures of Abigail and Wesley at some dive bar in Santa Fe, grinning like the world was theirs. A chain of flirty texts from him, complete with winking emojis. I saved it all, my resolve growing with every piece. A week later, Abigail made her move. She burst through the door in the middle of the day, face red with rage, waving a stack of papers. What the hell is this, Henry? She demanded, her voice like a whip. I glanced at the papers in Abigail's hand. Divorce papers, I said, my voice steady. Her eyes widened, her tone spiking. You're serious? Dead serious, I shot back. This marriage is done, Abigail. Has been for a while. She scoffed, tossing the papers onto the kitchen table in our Rio Rancho home. You think you're so high and mighty, don't you? Well, guess what, Henry, you're not getting full custody of Jasper. I won't let you. Good luck proving that in court, I said, unflinching. I've got more than enough to show who's the unfit parent here. Her gaze sharpened, but she stayed silent, grabbing her purse and storming out, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. I sank into a chair, a strange mix of exhaustion and resolve settling over me. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in months, I felt like I had the upper hand. Abigail didn't come home that night, and honestly, I didn't care. The quiet in the house felt like a gift. With Jasper spending another night at St. Joseph's Hospital in Albuquerque for observation, I could finally think straight without her toxic presence. I sat in the living room, flipping through Jasper's old photo albums, snapshots of his first birthday, his first trip to the Grand Canyon, and countless little moments that reminded me what I was fighting for. This wasn't about settling scores with Abigail, it was about keeping Jasper safe from the chaos she'd created. My phone buzzed with a text from Quentin. "Stay strong, man. Here if you need me." I sent a quick thanks and set the phone down. Guys like Quentin reminded me not everyone was as selfish as Abigail. The next morning, I headed to the hospital to pick up Jasper. Seeing his faint smile warmed me, even if it was weak. "Dad, where's Mom?" he asked as I buckled him into the car. "She's tied up," I said, keeping my tone light. "But I'm here, and we're gonna have a good day, all right?" He nodded, too worn out to push further. On the drive home, I made a silent vow. No matter how nasty this got with Abigail, I'd make sure Jasper felt secure and loved. Back home, Jasper went to nap in his room. I poured some coffee, savoring the rare calm. But it didn't last. Around noon, the front door flew open, and Abigail charged in, her face twisted with rage. "Are you out of your mind, Henry?" she barked, flinging her purse onto the couch. "Nice to see you too," I said, dry as dust. She marched up, jabbing a finger at me. "You slapped me with divorce papers without a word and now you're trying to steal Jasper? Who do you think you are?" I set my coffee down, meeting her stare. "I'm the dad who actually gives a damn about Jasper's future, something you clearly don't." Her jaw tightened. "You don't get to decide that. I'm his mother. I have every right to him. Do you?" I said, my voice rising. "Because it looks to me like you've been more focused on your boyfriend than your own kid." She flinched but bounced back fast. "Don't you dare use Jasper to play the martyr. You've always been jealous, Henry, paranoid I'd find someone better than you." I let out a sharp laugh. "Better than me? You picked Wesley, a guy too spineless to even show his face around here. Real prize, Abigail." Her face flushed. "At least he hears me, unlike you. If you'd been half the man he is, I wouldn't have needed him." "That's rich," I fired back. "Blaming me for your cheating? Typical. You've never owned up to anything, have you?" The argument spiraled, our voices filling the house. I hated that Jasper might overhear, but Abigail wasn't giving me an out. Finally, I stepped back, forcing my voice to level. "This is going nowhere. The courts can sort it out. Until then, stay out of my way." She sneered. "You think this is done?" "Far from it, Henry." She snatched her purse and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. Later that afternoon, while Jasper played quietly in the living room, I checked the answering machine, half expecting another smug message from Wesley. What I heard stopped me cold. "Abby, it's Wesley," the voice said, low and tense. "We need to talk. Henry's not as clueless as you thought. If he figures out about the money, we're screwed. Call me." I replayed it, my pulse racing. "Money? What money?" The pieces started clicking, each one uglier than the last. Abigail wasn't just cheating, she was hiding something bigger. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up our joint bank account. At first, everything seemed fine, but then I spotted it, a string of hefty withdrawals over the past few months, thousands of dollars siphoned into an account I didn't know. My hands shook as I scrolled through the transactions. The dates matched up perfectly with Abigail's work trips and other shady outings. I leaned back, my mind spinning. Was she stealing from us to bankroll her affair, or was it something worse? The next time Abigail showed up, I was ready. She strolled in, tossing her keys on the counter like nothing was wrong. "I'm here for Jasper," she said, all casual. "No, Abigail," I said, stepping in front of her. "You're here to explain this." I held up a printout of the bank statements, watching her face go pale. "Where'd that money go?" I demanded. Her eyes darted around, hunting for a way out. "It's not your business," she said finally. "Not my business?" I repeated, my voice climbing. "You've been draining our account behind my back. Do you even care what this does to Jasper?" "Don't drag him into this," she snapped. "He's already in it," I said. "And so am I." "Start talking, Abigail. Where's the money?" She hesitated, then straightened, defiant. "It's gone, all right? I needed it for stuff." "Stuff?" I said, my tone thick with disbelief. "Don't play me for a fool. What stuff?" She didn't answer, grabbing her purse and trying to shove past me. This time, I wasn't letting her off. "If you walk out without coming clean, I'll make sure the court knows everything," I said. She froze, her back to me. For a second, I thought she might spill the truth. But then she turned, her face hard. "You don't scare me, Henry," she said. "Never have." Abigail stormed out, leaving me standing in our Rio Rancho living room, more resolved than ever to unravel the full scope of her deception. The next morning, I started connecting the dots: Wesley's voicemail about the money, Abigail's shady behavior, and the missing funds. This wasn't just an affair, Abigail was hiding something much darker. I decided it was time to face Wesley head-on. Tracking him down was easy enough. He managed a used car lot a few towns over in Las Cruces. Armed with the bank statement printouts and his voicemail saved on my phone, I drove there, ready for answers. The dealership was buzzing when I pulled up, salesmen swarming customers like moths to a flame. I spotted Wesley right away, a lanky guy in his mid-30s with slicked back hair and a smug grin that made my blood boil. He didn't notice me until I was right in his face. "Wesley," I said, my voice like steel. He froze, his smirk fading as he clocked who I was. "Ah, Henry, right? Abigail's husband?" I skipped the niceties. "We need to talk. Now." He hesitated, glancing around like he was sizing up his escape routes, then nodded and led me to his cramped office. Once inside, I shut the door and cut to the chase. "What's the deal with the money?" Wesley's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. I slapped the printouts on his desk. "Don't play stupid. You left a voicemail. If he finds out about the money, it's game over." "Sound familiar?" He stared at the papers, his hands twitching. "Look, man, I don't want trouble." "Too late for that," I snapped. "Spill it." Wesley sighed, running a hand through his greasy hair. "All right, Abigail's been sending me cash for a business thing. She said it was her personal savings, and wanted it off the books." "What kind of business?" I pressed. He faltered, then mumbled, "Some real estate investment. She said you wouldn't go for it." I narrowed my eyes. "You're lying. That money wasn't hers to give, and if you think I'm letting this slide, you're out of your mind." Wesley's nerves turned to defiance. "Listen, I don't know what's up with you two, but you need to back off. Abigail and you what?" I cut in, leaning forward. "You think you're her hero? Wake up, Wesley, she's playing you, just like she played me." He clenched his jaw, but before he could fire back, I walked out. No point wasting breath on him. I had bigger fish to fry. Back home, I called Vincent, my lawyer, and filled him in. "Solid work," he said. "This financial misconduct bolsters your case big time. We can use it to push for custody and protect your assets." For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe the tide was finally turning. That evening, Abigail came home looking rattled, her usual polish fraying at the edges. She barely stepped through the door before I laid into her. "Care to explain why our money's funding Wesley's so-called business?" I asked, holding up the printouts. Her face went blank, then hardened into defiance. "I don't owe you any answers," she said, crossing her arms. "You don't owe me answers?" I repeated, my voice climbing. "That money was for our family, Abigail, not your boyfriend's schemes." She rolled her eyes, her tone thick with sarcasm. "Oh, please. Wesley's not scheming. He's helping me break free from this stifling marriage." Her words hit like a slap. "Stifling?" I said. "You mean the marriage where I busted my ass to provide for us while you snuck around?" She didn't even blink. "You're pathetic, Henry, always acting like the victim. Maybe if you weren't so dull, I wouldn't have needed someone like Wesley." That was it. "You're unreal," I said, shaking my head. "But this is over. I've filed for divorce, and Vincent's building an airtight case. You're not walking away clean." For the first time, Abigail looked shaken. "You think you can take Jasper from me?" she hissed. "I don't think, I know," I said, steady. "You've shown you don't care about his well-being. The courts will see it too." She didn't answer, just grabbed her keys and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The next day, I got a call that flipped everything upside down. "Mr. Carter, this is about some flagged transactions on your account," the bank rep said. "We've traced several transfers to an offshore account under Abigail Carter's name." My stomach dropped. Offshore accounts? This wasn't just Abigail funneling money to Wesley's scams, she was hiding serious cash. "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice even. Send me every detail you've got. As soon as I hung up, I called Vincent. This is huge, he said after I explained. We can file an emergency motion to freeze her accounts and subpoena her financial records. She won't be able to hide a thing. I nodded, a surge of determination running through me. Abigail thought she could outsmart everyone and walk away untouched, but she was about to learn that choices have consequences. That night, as I tucked Jasper into bed in our Rio Rancho home, his big, trusting eyes met mine. Dad, he said quietly, are you and Mom gonna stop arguing? My throat tightened, but I forced a smile. I'm not sure, buddy, but no matter what goes down, I'll always be right here for you. I swear. He nodded, his eyes fluttering shut, and I stayed by his side until his breathing slowed. At that moment, it hit me, no matter how ugly this mess got, Abigail's lies, Wesley's schemes, the looming court fights, Jasper was why I had to keep pushing. My job as his dad trumped everything, and I wasn't about to let him down. The day of reckoning came quicker than I expected. The courtroom in downtown Albuquerque was packed, the air thick with tension. Abigail sat across from me, her lawyer muttering in her ear as she shot me a look of pure venom. Jasper wasn't there, thank God. I'd made sure he was safe with a buddy. Whatever happened today, I didn't want him caught in the fallout. My lawyer, Vincent, stood tall as the judge kicked things off. He laid out our case like a surgeon, the siphon funds, Abigail's affair, her neglect of Jasper, and even Wesley's shady offshore account ties. Abigail's lawyer tried to spin it, painting me as controlling and claiming the withdrawals were for family projects, but the bank records didn't lie. Then came the game changer. Vincent called Wesley as a surprise witness. The courtroom hummed with murmurs as he shuffled in, shoulders slumped, face pale. Mr. Carter, Vincent started, you've been involved with Mrs. Carter for a while, correct? Wesley nodded, reluctant. Yeah. And were you aware she was diverting family funds to your ventures? Wesley glanced at Abigail, nervous. She said it was her money. I didn't know it was family cash. Abigail's glare could have burned a hole through him. Vincent pressed on. Yet you accepted large, unexplained sums? Wesley nodded again. Yeah. And the offshore account? Wesley squirmed. That was her idea. Said it was a backup plan if things went south. Vincent turned to the judge. Your Honor, this testimony confirms not just financial misconduct but a deliberate intent to deceive. Mrs. Carter was undermining her family's stability for personal gain. The judge's eyes flicked to Abigail, who looked ready to combust. When it was her turn to testify, Abigail played her last card. I did what I had to because Henry was suffocating me, she yelled, her voice breaking. He controlled everything, our money, our lives. Wesley was the first person who made me feel alive. The room went quiet. I couldn't hold back anymore. I stood, my voice steady but raw. Alive? I said. While you were feeling alive, Abigail, Jasper was in the hospital, scared and alone, and you didn't even show up. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. This isn't about you feeling alive, I went on. It's about your selfishness, your total disregard for anyone but yourself. You betrayed me, stole from us, and worst of all, you let Jasper down. He deserves better. The judge banged his gavel to restore order, but Abigail's carefully built mask had crumbled. After a short break, the ruling came down. I got full custody of Jasper, with Abigail limited to supervised visits. Her accounts were frozen, she was ordered to pay restitution, and she'd need counseling to ever see Jasper unsupervised. As the gavel fell, relief washed over me. For the first time in months, it felt like justice. Abigail stormed out without a glance my way, Wesley trailing behind her like a scalded pup, far from the cocky guy he'd been. That evening, I took Jasper to his favorite burger joint in Albuquerque. Watching him laugh and munch on fries, carefree for once, reminded me why I'd fought so hard. On the drive home, he looked at me from the back seat. Dad, is everything gonna be alright now? I caught his eyes in the rearview mirror and smiled. Yeah, buddy. It's gonna be okay. I promise. Later, after tucking him in, I sat on the porch, staring at the New Mexico stars. Abigail's betrayal had nearly broken me, but it taught me something. I learned to stand up for myself and protect the people I love. I learned resilience isn't just about taking hits, it's about rising stronger. Most of all, I learned my worth and that I'd never let anyone steal it again. This wasn't the ending I'd pictured for our family, but it was the start of something better. For the first time in ages, I felt hopeful. If you ever find yourself in a mess like mine, here's what I'd say: betrayal doesn't define you. It shows you who people really are and gives you a shot to take back your life. Move forward with grit, guard what matters, and never settle for less than honesty, love, and respect. Anything else ain't worth your time.